It is said that once upon a time, a small village flourished, nestled deep between dense forests and towering mountains. The gentle morning sun was slowly awakening every single corner of the peaceful village. On the very edge of this charming village, there stood a truly beautiful house. Within that house, a brave and resilient woman named Hana resided with her two beloved daughters. Outwardly, the house resembled a paradise, a heavenly abode. But inside, their daily life held very little laughter and much more weariness. The eldest daughter, Sarah, was her mother's favorite. She had a subtle bitterness, an inherent stubbornness, and a deep-seated conviction that she was invariably correct. The younger daughter, Layana, was her complete opposite. Her voice was gentle, her eyes soothing, and her nature was such that no one could stay mad at her for long. Her face was a living portrait of her late father. One day, while playing in the garden, Sarah said, "Liana, I really wanted these 3 apples. Why do you always have to lay your hands on everything?" Liana innocently replied, "I just picked up the apples that had fallen. I didn't realize they were specifically for you." Sarah angrily said, "Not everything belongs to you. You're fighting over such a trivial matter." Liana smiled and replied, "Trivial matter? I'll tell Mom right now, and she'll certainly question you about it." Mom looked at both of them and said, "Listen, Liana, why do you always bother your older sister? Just do as she says. She always speaks the truth. It is your mistake." And so, these 3, with their own unique strengths and weaknesses, were living out their lives in this beautiful yet silent home. Nosa tose masasta. Layana's presence always brought a unique and refreshing atmosphere to the house. Ignoring Sarah's pride and stubbornness, Mother would say, "Sarah, your harsh tone is simply your manner of speaking." One day, the sun was blazing fiercely. Hana angrily grabbed the bakery dishes and said, "Layana, we are completely out of water at home. Go to the well by the edge right now." You had to carry the largest pot. The well was a mile away from the village, and the path was not an easy one. It was all dry grass, sand, and sharp, prickly thorns. The ground itself seemed like a formidable test. Sarah had never engaged in such demanding physical effort, and Hana, too, was well aware that this particular task would prove challenging for her. Layana, without a word, lifted the heavy pot and began her journey. The sun was strong on the path, the ground was hot, and honeybees kept buzzing all around. A sweet fragrance drifted through the air, and with every step, the tiredness slowly faded away. By the time she arrived, Layana's arms had become as hard as stone. She sat down for a moment on the cold stones by the shore and took a deep breath. Then suddenly, she heard a trembling voice. "My dear child, would you be so kind as to fetch me some water? I've been terribly thirsty for quite a while now." Layana turned around to look. It was an old woman, a face full of wrinkles, trembling hands, and an old shawl draped over her shoulders. The woman appeared extremely weary. Layana immediately rose to her feet. "Oh no, please stay seated. I'll quickly go and get the water for you." Layana thoroughly washed the pitcher, filled it with fresh cool water, and then carefully handed it to the woman. The woman drank the water. Then, with a deep voice, she said, "May you be blessed, my child. Nowadays, no one shows this kind of respect to anyone. You have truly shown me respect from your heart." Layana was completely astonished. Suddenly, the old woman disappeared, and in her place stood a luminous, sparkling fairy, from whose wings silver light was dripping. The fairy smiled and said, "My dear child, you have acted kindly, without any expectation of reward. I bless you. From this day forward, whenever you speak, flowers and precious jewels will fall from your lips." Layana returned home, astonished and troubled. Mother and Sarah looked at her with suspicious eyes. The moment Layana spoke, sapphires and delicate flowers began to fall from her lips. Greed awakened in Mother's eyes, and Sarah, deep in her heart, felt a surge of curiosity. After Layana returned home, she could see both astonishment and greed gleaming in the eyes of her mother and Sarah. The sapphires, pearls, and flowers that fell from her lips were not only exquisite, but also possessed a unique radiance that spontaneously spread through the room like a fragrant, enchanting magic. Hana immediately picked up some jewels from Layana's hand and asked, "Layana, where did all these come from?" "What have you done?" Layana answered meekly. "Mom, I only offered water, and that wasn't a woman. A fairy gave me this gift." Seeing all this, Sarah said proudly, "Liana, do you really think you get a reward just for giving water?" "It's all just pure luck, and you are simply a very fortunate person," Layana said, a gentle smile gracing her lips. "Perhaps, but my intentions were truly pure, and that, I believe, is what matters most." Sarah couldn't quite bring herself to accept this. She made a silent vow to herself that she too would somehow manage to obtain this magic or reward. On the following day, Hana gave them both tasks to do in the garden. Layana, on the other hand, was always gentle and humble, but Sarah would perform every task with speed and arrogance solely to display her own strength and talent. Meanwhile, news reached the village that in Emperor Rayan's palace, an annual celebration will take place and daughters from every noble family will be welcomed at the palace. This news awakened a new passion in Sarah's heart. Liana, you know we are going to the palace. Perhaps some magic or a great reward awaits us there. Liana, in a calm and composed tone, stated, I don't know. If my mother grants permission, then I can certainly go, but my sole purpose is not to win any prize. The much-anticipated day of celebration finally arrived. The palace's radiant lights, the shimmering golden chandeliers, and the towering majestic doors, everything appeared truly paradisiacal. Sarah meticulously adorned herself in her most precious and expensive garments, while Liana, in contrast, chose a simple yet elegantly beautiful dress. The moment they stepped into the grand palace, all the guests were utterly astonished. Prince Rayan, with his captivating appearance and remarkably gentle demeanor, effortlessly became the focal point of everyone's attention. Prince Rayan looked around at everyone, and his gaze then fell upon Liana. Her gentle smile, humility, and heartfelt respect immediately touched Rayan's heart. He came up to me and said, Excuse me, are you standing here all by yourself? I just heard a very strange and soft voice. Was that you? Liana replied quietly, I simply listen to my heart, and I am never afraid to help anyone in need. Rayan, utterly astonished, exclaimed, I have truly never witnessed anything quite like this before. This luminous, glowing light that is with you, it feels just like a fairy's presence or some powerful magic. Meanwhile, Sarah also tried to somehow gain magic or a reward, but when she tried to give water to an old woman in the palace garden, something strange occurred. With every word she spoke, a fat frog leaped out from her lips, and as she continued to speak, a swarm of frogs spread throughout the palace, terrifying all the guests. Sarah, panicking, tried to run away from there, but Prince Rayan stopped her. What is happening? Rayan asked in surprise. Liana replied in a soft tone. This is the outcome of her intentions. The impact of deeds performed with kindness and a pure heart is always beautiful, and actions driven solely by pride or greed often lead to detrimental consequences. Rayan, his gaze fixed upon Liana, said, You are truly exceptional. Within you, there is a radiance and a gentleness that could transform an entire empire. Liana, with profound humility, bowed her head, and a delicate fragrance of light seemed to fill every corner of the grand palace hall. At this very moment, the lesson of Sarah's pride and greed began for her. She realized that in this world, nothing can be achieved with just power and arrogance. Rayan forgave Sarah, but she learned that true beauty lies in the heart and intent, not in outward show. After the celebration, Rayan invited Liana to stay in his palace. If you allow, I'd like you to be my life partner. The light inside you can brighten any kingdom. Liana felt a sense of peace and happiness upon hearing this news, but she also grew concerned for her village and her mother. She understood that this journey and the choices she made would be truly life-changing. When Liana arrived at the palace, everything she saw was new and absolutely astonishing to her. White marble ceilings, golden walls, and large chandeliers hanging from the high ceilings, everything seemed like a dream. Within the palace walls, with every single step, a sweet fragrance of light seemed to emanate and fill the air, and Liana's inherent gentleness and humble demeanor truly captivated the hearts of everyone present. Even Prince Rayan found himself completely mesmerized by her every movement, each delicate smile, and her every modest, graceful gesture. Yet, amidst all this burgeoning happiness, Sarah's bitter envy and deep-seated arrogance began to steadily grow. Sarah sensed that Liana's inherent gentleness, her extraordinary magical gift, and Prince Rayan's undivided attention were fundamentally altering everything around them. She kept pondering inwardly, wondering why she was gaining everything that rightfully belonged to her, that should have been hers. During this period, Sarah, because of her excessive greed and arrogance, experienced failure on numerous occasions. She could have accomplished so much if she truly desired, but her intentions were far from pure. Fairy Nuria then came close to her and imparted a crucial lesson. Sarah, the connection between your words and your true intentions is reflected in your actions. You cannot hope to achieve absolutely everything simply through the use of power. True success is found in goodness and sincerity. Hearing this, Sarah felt a slight pang in her heart, but her pride had not yet completely vanished. With Liana's presence in the palace, everything changed. A gentle understanding and a special bond developed between Prince Rayan and Liana. They often conversed in the courtyard, enjoyed the sweet fragrance of flowers in the small gardens, and filled the entire palace with the bright sound of their shared laughter. One day, Liana sat by the garden's edge with Prince Rayan and said, Rayan, I am happy, but I don't want everything to change solely because of my light. People's hearts should also be filled with love and sincerity. Rayan gently replied, Liana, you have taught me and this palace a profound lesson, that the light of the heart is the greatest power. Without you, none of this would have been possible. Meanwhile, Sarah made many mistakes due to her stubbornness, but every time, Fairy Nuria gently corrected her. The way was shown. Sarah realized for the very first time that power and arrogance have their limits, and only with pure intentions can everything truly be achieved. A new challenge emerged within the palace walls. Near the village, a dangerous forest lay, often impacting the palace's very existence. One day, news reached the village. A poisonous mountain had fallen on the forest path, blocking the water supply. Commotion erupted in the palace, and everyone became deeply worried. Liana immediately decided that she would find a solution to this problem. Princess Nuria approached her and said, "My dear child, your intentions are pure, so this challenge will be easy for you. Just follow your heart." Liana spoke gentle words from her lips, and the magical light's effects began to soften the dust of the poisonous mountain. The path for water opened, and the villagers were overjoyed. In the palace, everyone praised Liana's bravery and kindness. During this time, Sarah also made a conscious effort to clarify her intentions. She worked alongside Liana, diligently assisting with the garden's restoration, and for the very first time she was truly letting go of her deep-seated pride and arrogance. Princess Nuria smiled and said, "Sarah, for the very first time, you have truly worked from your heart. This indeed is what true goodness means." Prince Rayyan then called both Liana and Sarah closer to him and declared, "From this moment on, this palace is no longer merely my kingdom, but a realm of love, compassion, and true virtue. The presence of you two has completely transformed everything here." A brand new day had begun within the palace. The gardens were filled with fragrance, vibrant flowers, and a magical glow in every corner. Liana's gentle nature and humble spirit had truly touched every heart within the palace. Prince Ryan, too, wished to remain close to Liana at every moment. The people from the city and the village were all joyfully engrossed in preparations, for today was Liana and Ryan's wedding. The grand hall of the palace was beautifully adorned with golden chandeliers, colorful flowers, and sparkling jewels. There was a glimpse of happiness and wonder in everyone's eyes. If you like this story, please like and don't forget to subscribe. Falsata me attack tata.